Fun.
Oh, there are people on.
So you're saying that the other
Okay,
50 Avenue A is not,
so, I'm sorry,
the other 50 Avenue A is not here.
no, they never show up.
Remember, okay.
Well, I think that landlord is just playing people.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So,
That was shoot air.
what is this?
Okay. And maybe probably accidentally clicked on an ad.
Okay, so you want to join? Why is it doing that?
Well, I think this is, you have to enter the, it's not the joy, it's just the general joy.
Oh.
But here we can just go, it's this one, just
Yeah.
join now right there.
Oh,
Yeah. There you go.
I haven't done this in a while, have I?
Yeah.
So it looks like I got to do it. So. Click host.
So I'm not sure.
Brian's there. See if he responds to my text.
Why is that thing in the middle there?
Oh,
I can
yeah.
just close it here.
Very.
So you're on Zoom,
Okay.
Brian?
Hmm?
You're Brian, right?
Yeah.
You're, who's Brian? Oh, Brian is one of your associates?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna promote him to a panelist.
Oh, no, you don't need to.
I don't?
No, we're gonna do all the talking. He's just gonna
Okay.
sit there and.
Audrey Labaz. Not somebody, Clay and Lori, so I guess they're all people here to speak on the item. Want to start the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll sit here.
Okay, we'll start the meeting, with an approval of the last month's minutes. Can I have, a motion to approve? Or second to the motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, thank you. The second item on today's agenda, is withdrawn. That was SLG 50 Avenue A. Oh, thank you. Mark too, was sitting here. But rewind, restart. You all didn't hear that. Exactly. Okay, we're gonna first do our attendance. Sarah Bachu, present. May Lee, present. Andrani Nicodemus Rivera, present. Jaylene Rosario, absent, and Arnett Scott, absent.
Two people are walked in, by the way, they're like signing in or something. So heads up.
Okay, great. Okay, so redo, can I get a second to the motion to approve last month's minutes?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2, SLG 50 Avenue A. Feel free, just sign in.
Are you here for the cannabis?
Not to submit, just to potentially.
Neither of you are applicants.
Correct.
Okay.
Well.
Yeah, so just sign it.
Yeah, great. And then item number 3 was Flower Guys Dye Ma LLC, which is 50 Avenue A as well. They're not here, so because they're card applicants, we don't need a resolution. Normally we would deny them for non-appearance. And so then the last item that we have is YK Botanicals LLC, 187 East Broadway. You both, I think, have the application. SMA has the application. Great. Just a bit of overview, and then I'll invite you guys to add what you'd like. This is again for 187 East Broadway. They are proposing some closing hours of 8 p.m. on Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. Friday to Saturday, and 6 p.m. on Sundays. They are, sorry, maybe it's not right. Come back, no. No. They talked a little bit about security to manage traffic and signage for not smoking in the area. We'd love to hear just like a little bit more about that, because that's a big concern for us, making sure that smoke doesn't get into adjacent apartments and community spaces. We also have an application that they'd like to do 5 to 10 events a month, focused on community education and some work with other brands and local artists. It'd be great if you could talk about that, as well as sharing just more about your community engagement. I know that Susan flagged for you that you are close to the Educational Alliance facility. We'd love to just hear if you've engaged them. If not, you know, happy to facilitate. The office can facilitate that. But feel free just to share a little bit more context of the business, and
Sure.
we'll ask questions.
So this is Yuri Kovitsky, right? He is the principal, of YK Botanical. So he actually applied for a card and qualified because he's been negatively impacted by the war on drugs. You actually, please, just tell me a little bit about your ties to New York and everything. Where you
I came to New York in 1981, grew up in Brooklyn, with the exception of going to school for 4 years now, and I spent my whole life in Brooklyn. So I know the community well.
You went to school near here too, right?
Yeah, I went to school in
You did? Oh, my sister went there too, sorry.
so I know New York pretty well.
Metropolitan College, I thought you said you went to.
Brown College, just a couple of classes.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, got it. So obviously, he ties in the area and everything. And then, in terms of plans for the location and everything, and look, so we ran it through the mapping software. I guess this settlement house didn't run through because it doesn't technically qualify as a school, but we want to be considerate to everyone. And we really kind of view this as a partnership. One thing that we have that I think will help everything is we're very likely going to be signing for like a management services arrangement with some folks who have 8 successful dispensaries in Colorado. And if they're successful in Colorado right now, that says something because it's a hyper competitive market. They have huge price compression there. And so, they have to comply with 450 pages of regulations. We're up to 350, and that's only going to grow. And so actually, like a lot of the questions and concerns, that communities totally understandably have are kind of addressed by things that we're required to do. And then there are things that we'll do, as we can to kind of go above and beyond to really be, partners with the community. And there are things that can even impact that significantly in a positive way. So one thing, I don't know if people have heard, but President Biden might reschedule cannabis on the Controlled Substances Act. And if they do that, right now in the cannabis industry, you basically can't deduct most of your business expenses, right? And so if they shift that, that's basically like a 30% shot on profitability. And so as we say in the PowerPoint, we're more than happy essentially that if we then have that shot on profitability, we do this as a partnership. We want to figure out ways to reinvest in the community. And so in terms of community initiatives, right, we are the partner, right? We will investigate donations to nonprofits, beautification projects, being a place where community events can be hosted, right? For their candidates, and their educational events, and we are open to ideas. And so that's kind of our approach to everything here. With respect to the school location across the street, it's not a question of whether or not these businesses are coming. The problem is they're already here, and it's the illicit stores, okay? And the illicit stores, which the estimates are up to like, I don't know, 8,000 in the city alone. They sell products that aren't tested, right? There were rumors about fentanyl-laced marijuana. I'm not gonna throw that out there because I think that was a little bit rumors to a certain extent, but what's not debatable is that a lot of these stores, and you know, you walked around and found them literally around the block from where we're, you know, our proposed location. They sell psychedelic chocolate bars that look like Snickers packaging, right? Like as a father of, you know, 8 and 12-year-old girls, it's terrifying. And so everyone needs to kind of understand that, you know, in these 350 pages of regulations we have to comply with, one of the main things is you can't basically know from outside that it's a dispensary, right? You can't have any signs, you can't see any product, right? It's basically has to be completely nondescript. We're not allowed to use certain words in the name of the title, okay? And so, you know, anybody. Sorry.
So I would say one, the committee is familiar with that, so you
Yeah.
don't have to continue with that. But Susan, our district manager, wanted to.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say the same thing. We've been doing this for a couple of months.
All right.
We're pretty
All right.
expert,
I didn't want to make any
so if
assumptions.
you will just
Yeah.
talk about your business.
business.
Okay, sorry. All right, I apologize for that. You know, so I think that we covered this up in terms of the partnership with the community. In terms of employees, right, we are specifically going to be looking to employ people out of reentry programs, specific to the neighborhood, to the, you know, greatest extent that we can. We are required to sign something with unions in terms of certain things with respect to them. In terms of, one thing I want to throw out there, because it may not have come up in, you know, other presentations, it's not specific to us, but this is, you know, to try and just help gain a comfort level. There's been a lot of data out there. There are states that legalized a decade before us, and I just want to tell you folks that some of the potentially counterintuitive effects that have been absolutely established again and again. When you have legal stores around, opiate use decreases, teenage and youth use decreases, right? There's been a 20% bump in teenage use because of the illicit stores.
We're gonna,
Back to your business.
we're gonna intervene just because limited time,
Yeah, sorry.
we
Okay.
recognize that.
Nothing, all right, so specific to our business, I'll just,
Okay, maybe I was gonna say, we could start asking some questions and, if, you know, that might bring up some of your points.
yeah,
So I'm gonna start with committee questions, and then, we'll move to community for their feedback, because that's really, you know, another focus. I just have one question that I wanted to ask. You had mentioned that if cannabis is rescheduled at the federal level, that will increase profitability, and then you can do more in terms of community impact. I don't see that happening tomorrow, so like, my question for you is what kind of community engagement work would you plan to do in absence of that?
okay, so I mean, it's early goings, right? So I mean, the fact of the matter is, because we do this in partnership, it's a conversation with folks, right? So if we, you know, kind of go on this joint journey, pun intended, together, right, like that's an open conversation, okay? And so that's, you know, whether it's investments or donations, right? Certainly we have, you know, we have this facility to, you know, offer to host events. So that's an open discussion, right? And everything's on the table in that respect, all right? I'm just saying that rescheduling, I think, will happen in the next 6 months because Biden needs it to make young voters happy. And he doesn't need bipartisan support, so they're pushing it hard. So I'm hopeful that happens sooner rather than later. But, you know, like, I just feel like it's an open conversation. And I listed some of the different things. Certainly it's about, you know, who we employ, and we're open to any ideas.
Yeah, so just, you know, just to kind of dive a little bit deeper into this point, like I think thinking about it purely in terms of money, investment, donations is a super transactional way of thinking about it. Like we mostly, I think, even at this stage, want you to just even know your neighbors.
Yeah.
Which is always a really important piece to the work that we do. The community board and how we advise applicants, whether you're opening a bar, whether you're opening this, you know, retail operation, it's so important. And I think just thinking about ways that you can incorporate the community maybe into programming as well as like something that's pretty like low level effort. But the office like has kind of specific contacts and Susan can facilitate that for you. I just wanted to bring up one other point around, hiring, making sure they got information about Lesson, but our Lower East Side Employment
Yeah, I
Network.
saw, yeah.
So that's a great resource, and folks are getting trained through Henry Street Settlement to get that type of expertise that they'll need to work in a cannabis retail operation. So definitely, we'll make sure that you are utilizing that network of folks. I'm going to turn. I think Indrani, you wanted to ask a question, so I'll call on you next.
Sure. So I'm a little confused because you said that you were going to have like 8 to 10 events a month, but
I
then.
think that that's an ambitious, like, little thing that we want to be, kind of upfront about the fact that, we
So what
potentially,
kind of
well, some
events?
of the folks on the team essentially have experience, running events, and so, there would be certain things, I think that, that could be business related, right? Or, educational events, networking events, for the industry and open to whatever the community is interested in. To just backtrack very quickly, we do want to engage with the community. We had a little bit of a kind of a shift around, which is why we got on your radar so late in terms of properties, right? Because the system is so messed up with, basically.
We know that
are-
part too. You don't have to tell us all.
What?
It's messed up.
Yeah, so the idea is that because this is relatively kind of new, right? So we reached out to Education Alliance today. We will spend the next couple of days, however amount of time, getting to know our neighbors, and getting them on board, and any suggestions you have, any contact information you want to share, we welcome it.
Just that if you're saying event, like I'm an event person, so like
Yeah.
I would like to just hear some sort of more concrete other than speaking to the neighborhood and.
Well, if they let me run some of my cannabis networking events there, we usually do panels that are educational, and then we have networking. And then I would like to do a cannabis stand-up comedy thing. It's like crossed it off my bucket list, and I want to get better. And there's some really fun people in the industry, funnier than me.
And just one question, and that
Yeah.
space kind of allows for that, like shows.
We're not gonna throw anything that doesn't suit the space. And in terms of, when we have events, right, we're required to have, security on premises and stuff. So we have kind of, built-in measures that we're required to have that will also be there to ensure that there's not, a negative impact outside the front, right, and on the neighbors. We have requirements for ventilation, right, in terms of smells. The regulations get very, very specific.
May, do you have any questions?
Just in terms of another group to reach out to, actually, Seward Park is more right in front of it. I mean, it's kind of like you have to sort of go off
Yeah, I
the
saw
side, so it's
the-
like, kind of on the
park,
side.
Yeah,
So, but this is more like this, right?
I saw that too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so there's an organization that, a neighbors organization that, like, Conservancy that runs the park.
All right,
Or that
okay.
is partners, it's a park, a New York City park. But
Got it.
there is a neighborhood organization called the Conservancy that takes care of the park.
Yeah, so we want to meet everybody, and I like that as a potential, partner for events. I think that could be fun. Maybe there's some murals or something that we could do together with parks. We could bring my daughters with chalk and just come back 5 hours later, and that could be a good partnership there.
Great. I'm going to turn that to the community for anyone who wants to speak on this item. If you're in Zoom, could you please raise your Zoom hand and we'll recognize you to speak. Are you ready to speak?
I actually hadn't planned on speaking on this
Oh, okay.
topic, but I do have a question because of their location across from the park. Can I?
Go ahead.
So, I'm glad you brought that up, Nate. I'm on this community board in the Parks Committee. I'm also an employee for the Parks Department that does enforcement for the Parks Department. Not currently in Manhattan, but what is your plan to not have people take the cannabis and smoke it in the park? Because it's currently city rules are you're not allowed to smoke anything.
Yeah.
Parks.
Yeah, so there's obviously a limitation on what we can do in terms of what's our property and what isn't our property. But one of the things that's interesting in the New York program is like there are Well, I guess actually, recycling the packaging wouldn't necessarily help that specific issue. But what I would say is in terms of ideas that come to mind immediately, right? I mean, we're gonna have, security by the front. So theoretically, maybe we have that person be discouraging, right, for people just going directly to the park to smoke. And, I want to think that one out a little bit. In terms of it, obviously, we could have signage and stuff. But, maybe there's something there in terms of something where we could work together to try to discourage that, right? We're trying to be a good neighbor. We're not trying to be, something that, it's going to result in a bunch of, people, in the park, so, yeah.
Maybe, this hasn't really come up before, but I think like a lot of people don't know exactly where they can smoke because there's no consumption lounges and
I think we may have some intention of possibly having limited on-site consumption.
Well, they can't at this moment. So I guess my point being like, maybe it's as simple as like when someone purchases something, getting a card that says like where can you, where can you smoke, but like in a cooler way. More like, giving people like ideas, to keep it like a social experience, but like a social experience is not in the park.
Go home and smoke.
Yes, go home and smoke, but there's other
smoke.
places that are allowed, there's other places that are allowed to smoke, so I just want it to be clear.
No, we're.
So Clean Air Act does not allow people to like hang out in front of you. The sidewalks in front of parks are still parks. They don't arrest people, but you're not allowed to smoke on parks property, so you can't smoke on the sidewalk there. And then you have all those outdoor, right there, you have bars with outdoor dining, but you can't smoke there.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's not really anywhere over there? I mean, it's a sidewalk that's not in front of outdoor dining or the park and home. But yeah, I think, education is super important. You could be really cute with signage and graphics around like not smoking.
We like thinking creatively.
Yeah. I'm thinking, there's some cute things you can do. Okay, I don't see any hands in the Zoom room for community members that wanted to speak on this item. So I'm just going to turn back to committee to just ask how folks are feeling about the application and motion approval.
I think I would just say that the location, I feel like people are gonna have issue with the location.
I think that it's so tough. They're not gonna be anywhere near as many of these as they need to be, to be honest with you, because it's supporting all these illicit stores and, I know my legacy folks, their business dropped 50%. It's just so hard, right? There's always, when we are packed so densely, there's always something around. And so, the only solace that I really take is the fact that, these regulations are so, onerous in terms of minimizing the potential impact on kids in the community around us, right? That it translates to what we see in the other states, that, teen use goes down. I don't want kids smoking. I cover everything on my podcast and not the science. You don't want kids whose brains are developing smoking. Right? This will help.
Susan wanted to
Yeah, I was gonna
respond to
say
that, so.
legally, the location, but nobody's here to speak against the location, and legally it's fine. So
Yeah,
there's
it's
not,
not a school.
so there's not much we can do.
And we're gonna talk to the educational lines, like we wanna do what we can, right? To, it's.
As far as,
Yeah.
people saying, I don't want that location.
Sorry,
I mean, it's legal.
I just thought also the library would probably be a good,
Good to reach out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
creative program.
But, for,
It's in the
certainly for
park.
partnerships, but, as far, and nobody's speaking against it.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's already some cannabis usage in that park. But it would be great to I think educate folks, be a good neighbor. May, how are you feeling?
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, gotcha. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve, again, encourage you all to do the engagement piece. I'm glad that you, as soon as you got that information, that you reached out, that's great.
Yeah.
The hours seem really reasonable to me, so I'll make a motion to approve. Anyone will second that. Okay, I'll second. Great. So, I have the resolution. I'm just gonna write that up and we have a form that has some stipulations. The stipulations are that you'll close by the hours that you submitted in the application.
Okay.
Which is again 8 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. Friday to Saturday, and 6 p.m. Sunday. That seems really small.
Someone set those hours, by the way, I think one of the consultants, so I mean, there's a possibility of tweakage, but you can't do it past certain like hours, I think it might even be like 11, right? So I
Well,
mean,
the limitation by OCM is 2 a.m., which we don't like. We would
Okay.
prefer it to be before midnight.
yeah.
It's a retail, I mean, even midnight is like late for
Yeah,
us
no,
because we're like,
yeah.
it's a retail operation, so like. all
I saw
you're
those
doing-
hours and I wanted to be able to potentially, tweak them a little bit, but within the parameters of exactly what you're comfortable with, right? So if you say like you want before midnight, I just, I didn't see or speak with the person who put those in, all right? But I
We
don't
were
want to
limited
be,
to the amount of hours.
I don't want to be, we don't want to be bad neighbors, so it's just, we want the capacity to make money during some of those, hours when people might have lunches.
You could send it to me, I could print it out to you.
Okay.
Send it to me.
Yes, I can. I'm just adding, there was a request for like more context in our resolution, so I'm just adding a little bit from the conversation and then I'm gonna read it and we'll get any edits and then we'll hopefully approve that.
I don't want you to think that we're trying to like renege on the hours or anything, I just like, I was, when I saw them, I wasn't sure exactly where they came from.
Okay.
All right, so we'll work with you and we will, commit to whatever hours, works for you folks and, fits the regulations. Did you guys have any questions?
No, we were actually here for 50 out of the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just give us, sorry, I didn't do my I was like really overwhelmed by being late and I did not do my normal parliamentary procedure.
I'm sorry. It's not like, it's lawyers like this.
It's all good. How do you guys feel about including just that the applicant is planning to engage the local organizations we discussed in the resolution? It's not something we would normally include, but I think just as an accountability.
If you want, yeah, well, we want one.
What's the Seward Park Conservancy called?
Seward Park Conservancy.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was Friends of, I was just checking.
No, it's a conservancy, it's not a friends of.
Okay. You guys can tell me if you think there's anything else you want to add to this, but right now I have, whereas YK Botanicals LLC is seeking an adult use retail dispensary license in the premises located at 187 East Broadway, New York, 10002, between Jefferson and Rutgers Street, New York. And whereas the applicant appeared before Community Board 3 on February 12th, 2024, to allow the community the opportunity to provide comments on proposed business. And whereas the applicant team includes a card eligible applicant, and the team plans to contract a management services team with experience managing cannabis businesses in Colorado, whereas the applicant plans to engage local organizations, including Educational Alliance, the Seward Park Conservancy, and the Seward Park Library, whereas the residents spoke in opposition to the application, whereas Community Board 3 finds no concerns with the proposed business, therefore be it resolved, the Community Board 3 recommends the application for an adult use retail dispensary for YK Botanicals, whole address, all that, provided the applicant agrees to the following signed notarized stipulations that it will close by 8 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and 6 p.m. Sunday, and it will have no music emanating from the business. Seem like the right mix of information that everyone understood what happened here? Okay, great.
Can I just ask one tweak or am I allowed to?
It's not typical, but
Okay, I'm sorry.
what's the tweak?
No, just the in Colorado part, just in case for whatever reason it falls through with them, we'll be working with someone who's experienced, but I don't know if they're gonna come from Colorado.
Okay, that's fine, I will do
yeah.
that, that's fine.
And the hours, I mean, if you guys wanna keep it at 10, that's, fine, we can talk about it or whatever you guys want.
Yeah, we do want to keep the hours there. I think if you change them, you should definitely, again, engage your neighbors, contact the office, so that we know. I don't know, we haven't really had this situation come up yet, so,
We're
you know,
not
for
gonna do it
us.
without letting you guys know.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'd rather say, like, if you're changing your hours, like, I would say, what are you thinking? If they're gonna be later, I'd rather us talk about it now.
No, I mean, like I said, I didn't know where those hours came from. So I thought that there was a little bit more flexibility. You folks don't have, your own regulations for this community board. So obviously I just wanted, kind of like a little bit of, latitude but however you want to do it, if you want to agree to those hours and we have a conversation before we change our hours with you folks.
Yeah, I think these hours are very similar to what other businesses have come to us with.
Okay.
Sometimes, like I said, I don't think we recommend any business for after 12. It just doesn't make sense in trying to reduce the impact of the business and be good neighbors. But like we love seeing a 10 p.m. closure. I think everyone feels comfortable with that. So I would say like keeping these hours, I think is good. I think that area has like a lot of bars. So like our ideal is like people are doing this, making their purchases before they're like going out and not doing both. So that's my perspective. I think that that's probably generally all of our perspectives. So we prefer them to not be open at the same time as surrounding bars.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna send Susan has the form that we have folks sign. So I'm just gonna do a vote on the resolution and then we'll adjourn and you'll sign that form. So the motion is in the open support of passing this amendment as just stated. Maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Johnny, yes. And Sarah Bachu, yes. Okay, that amendment passes. And then we are going to adjourn.
Yeah, if you'll just wait for a second, I'll give
So
you.
so you'll sign? Okay.
We will sign.
Great.
Do you require notes?
Does anyone want to celebrate by smoking marijuana in the bar outside or social?
Does
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Then
I'll be able to give it to them, and I will have to send it to them.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so if you just send it to me.
Oh,
I'm a notary.
he's a notary. Clint's a notary. Amazing. Okay, let me just see that.
Shouldn't let everyone know that.
I'm coming to Clint with my personal notary needs.
I don't have my stamp, but I can write this stuff on.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Sorry that your applicant isn't here.
Are you
but-
future applicants?
We actually already applied and have been approved. But 50 Ave, as far as we can tell, is within range of 2 schools. And that was part of the
Oh, you guys are in.
we wanted to just.
Not you, for a
the
different
issue that 50 Ave is within range of 2 schools. We had actually.
It's not on the same street.
You don't have to pick a cross
Yes,
street
no.
at all.
It's, you have to be within 500 feet on the same street. The school's on
I'm gonna end the
1st Street.
webinar.
What?
I'm gonna end the webinar now, because